Hello, I believe we are now live on Facebook and on YouTube. So I'm here today with a group of Tya Bootcamp graduates, and we're going to share some tips and ideas of how we are using our Tya tools to navigate this very interesting time that we find ourselves living in. However you define it, whether it's a terrifying pandemic or an ascension or a new world order coming to be, we really don't know that, because it really is where humanity is going to take this from here. So all we can control is our little bubble of reality, which is the most important thing. And in the Tya practice, we have a lot of tools to do that and make it a much more intentional situation than just having things sort of thrust into your life that you have no control over. So we're going to share some of our ideas, some of our tips, some of our techniques for everybody that's out there, everybody that's watching, of how we're using this practice at this time to make our lives better with whatever's going on in the world, regardless of what's going on in our lives specifically. So I'm here with Debbie G. You probably all know Debbie G. She hosts very often with me. She's a Tya Bootcamp graduate, and she is the host and creator of Spirituality Gone Wild. You may know her and possibly even me from there. We also have Wendy. Wendy is in Winnipeg, Canada. So a little different perspective in Canada than in some places right now. She can kind of share what's going on there with us. And we also have Carrie from Texas in the United States. Carrie's Tya Bootcamp graduate. And we have Renee. Renee is another Tya Bootcamp graduate and a Tya Bootcamp mentor, as is Wendy and Carrie are both mentors also. Renee lives right here in Palm Springs in Coachella Valley, where I live. And we're business as usual here. Everything's open. We're going to bars and restaurants, and everything's just fine. No, I'm kidding. It's the same as everywhere else. I stood in line to get into Home Depot yesterday. That was really interesting. And we had to stand 6 feet apart in line. And then you go in there and there's nobody in there. I'm like, really? This is a giant store, and they're only letting 10 people at a time in. But it was kind of a nice shopping experience that we just had every aisle to yourself. And then, of course, most of you that watch me regularly know Matt. Matt is a good friend of mine, a Tya Bootcamp graduate. He's in our Tya Mastery program. And Matt and I, as well as Debbie, do a lot of live videos together. So you probably knew him from there. And Matt is in Sydney, Australia, where it is very early Monday morning, 4 a.m.
It is. No shopping in Home Depot at the moment.
Yeah, they're not even open yet. You can go stand in line and get first in line if you want. Do you have Home Depot in Australia?
No. Do they sell toilet paper? That's the only reason I'd line up for it.
I think everybody's getting into the toilet paper business now. I'm not sure. So, the toilet paper seems to be coming back in stock. I got eggs the other day, which was nice, at Ralph's here in Palm Springs. I ordered aloe today. You can't get hand sanitizer here still. And Michael was saying that you can mix alcohol and aloe vera gel and make that. Basically is what hand sanitizer is. So hand sanitizer is available on aloe vera gel, is available on Amazon right now. But I did pay $20 for a bottle of it. So that's one of the things I'm going to kick off with. There's a lot of negative information out there. People are worried about their health first and foremost, hopefully. Certainly we know now is a very contagious virus. There is a high recovery rate, obviously, and the mortality rate is not very high, but still everyone's very concerned about it. It seems like it's very easy to get. I can tell you that I've already had a nasty flu this year. I had a very nasty flu at the beginning of February. I have no idea whether it was this or not, but I never get the flu. I never get sick. I did have a flu. It came, it went, it knocked me down for about 5 days. It was awful. I had fever and chills and aches and all that stuff. And then it went away. And I know for a lot of people, they get this, and it's a very scary thing. And if you know about law of attraction, and we had a meeting, Debbie and Matt and I, had the stream come in weeks ago when this first started kind of becoming an issue. And they said, this is going to get a lot worse before it gets better, mainly because of the collective fear around it. So that's a big topic that we can talk about today is, how much fear do you have around it? How are you regulating that? And how are you dealing with the collective fear? Because we're part of it, whether we want to be or not. We can say we're not participating. I'm not participating in the virus, but I still had to stand in line at Home Depot yesterday. I had to cut my vacation short. So I'm sort of thrust into it, whether I like it or not, right? But it really is about what you're doing with it. So we've heard that it's going to get worse before it gets better. We've heard all these negative things, but the positive things is that there are people that are healthy. There are people that are recovering from it if they do get it. There are people that are thriving in business right now. I'm going to give you 3 examples. One of my good friends her fiance sells on Amazon, and he does not sell anything health related whatsoever. He sells candles, and he sells memorabilia and things like that. His business is better than ever right now. Better than ever. People paying, ungodly sums of money for the simplest things right now, just for distraction, just for joy. That's happening. I am moving out of my house. I've been leasing a house in Palm Springs for the last 2 years, and I'm moving out of it. I'd already decided to move out of it, and they put it on the market. And they put it on the market last week, exactly when the governor of California was saying everyone is quarantined. You got to stay home for 30 days. They put it on the market on Wednesday. On Sunday, they had a showing, and the house sold already. So there's that, so the house sold very, very quickly in this climate. His business is better than ever in this climate. Things are looking really good right now for some people. So we have to really focus on the positive. And if things aren't going so well in your life, we're here to talk about that. We're here to talk about how to take that and flip it and turn it. So let's talk to Wendy first, because Wendy, I'm going to let you tell your story, your kind of before and after boot camp story. I don't want to get into talking about anything that you don't want to talk about, but I'm going to let you, because I think you're doing a really good job navigating the territory. So why don't you dive in and kind of share your story with the audience?
Thank you, David. Yeah, in a nutshell, I've struggled with low self-esteem and anxiety for most of my life. And, I've read tons of books. I've been searching for a very long time, and I discovered David's teachings just over a year ago. So I signed up for the boot camp, and I made progress better than any other thing I'd ever tried before. And now that I have these tools, it's such a blessing to help me navigate through this current situation with the pandemic. And I'm still using them even right to this day. And the best part is that it doesn't end at boot camp, is that you keep refining those skills that you get from the boot camp basically for the rest of your life. And it gets better. Absolutely.
Yeah. And what I was so impressed with you and the work that you've done is that, fear was a factor for you. And, now we're in the middle of this pandemic, and you came on the mentor meeting the other day, and you're like, hi, everybody. And, it was very satisfying for me to see you in that state, knowing that something like this could have triggered you in the past, to be really afraid, like a lot of people are. And so, I just think it's a very inspiring to see how you're navigating this and not giving it any negative power in your life.
Yes, and it's not denying that this is a difficult time, but every day I count my blessings. I focus on all the good little things that are happening throughout my day. I'm so thankful for the people around me, for where I am, emotionally, physically, where I am right now, and that has kept me on an even keel. And whenever I do feel a little bit off, I do correct myself very quickly.
Good. Yeah. And that's something that, a lot of people would be well served to learn the tools of just, focusing on things in a different way and understanding that everything has the power that you give to it. And that's so important to understand that if you're going to be fearful of this and you're going to give it that negative energy, that fearful power, then you're going to have a more negative experience. And it was funny, just before he came on, my big thing that I always talk about is how I choose not to participate. I chose not to participate in the Great Recession, but I did really participate in it. It didn't impact me negatively at all the way it did a lot of people. As far as money goes, I earned more money year after year after year during the recession. But my job was, where I earned so much money, is I went from town to town, going into retail operations and firing half the staff. That was my job. And that wasn't fun. So I did participate, so I'm glad that you brought that up. A big part of Tya is not about taking your life to some level of perfection where you never have another problem to solve and you're just living. A lot of people that talk about law of attraction really get into this, you're going to have everything that you want. Everything that you want is just there. All you have to do is think about it as if it is and be happy. And you've got everything that you want and your life is just perfect. I haven't found anyone where that's actually the case. I don't know anyone that's living in a state of perfection. And of course, from the stream's teachings and in Tya, a big part of it is that we're not here for perfection. We're not here for perfection at all. We're here to have problems and obstacles and overcome them. The big difference with Tya and practices such as this is how are we meeting those obstacles? Are we meeting them in terror? Are we meeting them in fear? Or are we meeting them in joy, understanding that we're going to navigate it, and whatever the universe has in store for us next is really up to our reaction to what's going on. And I think that's an important point to make. So thank you for sharing, Wendy. And let's talk to Matt. I want to keep Matt awake because it's 4 a.m. It's very early Monday morning in Sydney. So let's go to you next, because I want to make sure that you're staying engaged so we keep you awake and part of this. So kind of tell us about, your life has changed a lot with Tya and all of that, but just kind of tell us, because you've got some stuff going on right now in your life as well.
Yeah, it's not. I don't think this is an easy time for anybody, and I think everyone, to a certain degree, is feeling some sort of stress and feeling the general collective anxiety that's around. I've got 3 kids, and I've got them full time at the moment because school's out, and that's difficult to navigate, and there are stresses at work and things like that. So I think life does get more complicated in these situations for everyone, but having a daily practice and having these tools makes it manageable, and makes it bearable and makes it so much easier. And I think, Wendy, you're absolutely right. It is a stressful time. I don't think anyone's denying that. But I think I'm just so grateful that I've got this daily practice to help me navigate that time, and to start to get excited for it, and to look for opportunities in it, and to see it as perfection, as the stream says. I think we learn to have a higher perspective on things, and we learn to have a different view on life by doing this practice, and that's very comforting, I think. And it just allows you to see better things in your life, and to have things turn up. There was all the gyms are closed at the moment, and I was wondering how I was going to train. And then a gym I used to go to a couple of years ago is renting all its equipment. And I love using the rowing machine. And somebody sent me a note saying, "Hey, do you want to take the rowing machine for a couple of weeks?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, thank you. Thanks for falling into my lap." So I think staying up the spiral, and David, you've got a great story about coming back from your Mexican trip, about how things just kind of fell into place. And I was listening to one of your podcasts yesterday as I drove out to collect the rowing machine, and the stream said something lovely. They said, if you look for stuff to appreciate, you will always find something to appreciate. If you look for something to fear, you will always find something to fear. And I think you've just got to look for the light, as they say.
Yeah, one of the things they say that I love so much is always look for the light, for the light is always looking for you. And if we've got to remember that, through the darkest times, we've got to remember there's always a light up ahead. And if you don't know a lot about this practice and spiral work and things like that, I will tell you that, and think about your lives, those of you that are watching, when you are down your spiral, when you are down in negative emotion and you're not feeling good about yourself or the world, you're down in a negative space. And everything that you view from that perspective is going to seem negative. And the interesting thing is that there are things that we can think about when we're up our spiral and we feel very good, we feel very positive, we know that's going to be, we're up in that high state of joy, self-love, confidence, and then we dip down and suddenly you look back on those thoughts that maybe you were just thinking a few hours ago or a day prior, and suddenly they seem ridiculous. We all do that, right? And it just shows you what vibration really is. To me, that's my own little scientific proof that vibration impacts us significantly. That we can be thinking a train of thought, I'm going to do this, I'm going to have that, I'm going to be this, things are going to get better. I can see how things are starting to shift in my favor. I see things are improving. And then you go down your spiral, and polarity, if nothing else, will take you down your spiral on occasion. We're never going to outrun polarity, and we have to remember that. So polarity takes you down, and you get down in that negative territory, and you revisit those thoughts, and you view them completely opposite of what you were thinking just a few hours before. I can't do that. That's not going to work. That's not going to, what if this, what if that? Oh my gosh. We go down this what if funnel all of a sudden. We all do it. And that shows you what vibration is really all about. And that shows you also where are you vibrating all the time? What's your default vibration? Because what's ever coming into your life is related to your default vibration. So if you meditate and you appreciate and you pray or whatever it is that you do that raises your vibration, all of these things are high vibrational activities. And you get up there in high vibration and you stick yourself up there for half an hour a day, but then you plummet the rest of the day. Well, where do you think your default vibration is? And whatever's going on in your life is going to be an indicator of your default vibration. And none of us are getting everything that we want. But Tya is not about getting everything that you want. Tya is about getting more of what you want and less of what you don't. But more importantly, when things like this roll into your life, how are you responding to them? So I'll tell you the story real quick. I went on vacation. I started, I quit my corporate job at the end of 2017. I wrote my book. I started my podcast. I did my radio show. I started Tya Boot Camp. I've been doing this for a living for 2 years, and I have not taken a vacation at all during this time. So 2 years with no vacation, no time to just go disconnect and relax and lay on the beach and just be. And I do meditate every day, and I do, set aside time for myself every day because I know how important that is. But I really wanted this vacation. So 2 years go by. I finally plan a vacation. The vacation is during my partner Michael's birthday, and we decided, a couple of months ago to do this vacation. A few months ago, we booked this vacation. Well, here it rolls around. It's right in the middle of the pandemic. So at the very beginning of it, it wasn't quite so dire, and we decided we're going to go anyway. There were very few cases in Mexico. We thought it was a smart thing to do. We gave, again, the positive thought power to Michael's a psychologist. He's very into mindfulness. And of course, I do something that's way more out there than that. But, what we do works for us. So we get in the plane, we go to Mexico. It's business as usual down there. Beach is packed, restaurants are packed, toilet paper on the shelves, everything's fine. And then a few days into our trip, about halfway through our trip, we find out that President Trump of the United States was talking about closing the borders altogether. Nobody can come in. You just don't know what's going to happen in that scenario. The airlines are starting to say they're going to start grounding flights. I went online and looked, and suddenly there were no flights available back to LAX to change to for us. So I thought, I'm in a pretty high vibration right now. I'm not acting out of fear. I feel like it's a good time to go home from a high vibrational state. So I went to change our airfare to leaving on Thursday instead of the following Sunday. And there were no flights to LAX. We had to connect no matter what. And I really don't like connecting because it's 2 flights and you might miss the second flight, all that stuff. So, and I used to fly every week for my corporate job. So I'm used to flying all the time. So I noticed that to change our flights, they were waiving the fee. But of course, if the cabin was full, you had to pay for the other cabin that you were going to. So Coach, we flew Coach down there. Coach was full, but Economy Plus or whatever, the upgraded part of Economy, a little bit of that was available, and first class was available. Well, the price to upgrade to Economy Plus was $700 a ticket. A lot to upgrade to just Economy Plus. But for some reason, the price to upgrade to first class was $55. So in my mind, the airline had it reversed because normally it would be about $700 more to fly in first class. But at this time, it was $55. And so I booked it for $55. So instead of being this big negative thing that we had to cut our vacation short, we both just decided to enjoy the process. We got to the airport. We were having fun. We had to wait in this long line to get Purelled at the airport in Puerto Vallarta. Then we got on our first class flight, and we took 2 first class flights home. We didn't have any problems, any delays. It was just a fun day. And we had no problem with cutting our trip in half. It just was what it was. So here's something that could have very easily been something, oh my gosh, we've got to cut our trip in half. This is terrible. Our vacation's ruined. This is horrible. It's the worst thing ever. You know how a lot of us think, especially those of us who are living in a first world country. We get very spoiled by these little things. And suddenly we turned this negative situation into a positive. And it was a fun trip home. I'm glad we went. I don't regret coming home early. Everything just worked out the way that it was supposed to work out. So it's not about, never having anything negative come into your life. It really is about how you respond and how you react and how you make every situation a joyful situation. So Carrie, with that thinking, let's talk about your experience with the pandemic and what's going on for you personally and how you're using the Tya tools.
Okay. Hi. So I'm in Texas, and it's relatively quiet. I live in a small town, and actually yesterday I went out to the store, and I was expecting it to just be like a ghost town. Everybody's out and about and doing their thing, and I thought we were supposed to be staying home, but apparently not so much here. I guess it's not mandatory yet, but I'm sure it will be. But anyway, I am so grateful for the tools, because I always say my pre-Tya life, I was relatively happy, and I too worked in corporate America and traveled, and I thought I was a relatively happy person, which I am, but circumstances such as travel would cause me to get frustrated and sometimes downright angry at other people for not doing their job or whatever, and this I would notice that I'd meditate in the morning and my day would start out good, but the more that things would happen or get thrown at me, and then of course, if anyone travels, that always happens. It's travel, especially airline travel. And I would notice that it kind of snowballed. And by the end of the day, I would just be drained and crabby and cranky. And so now I have the tools to understand that those are obstacles, and I can look at them in a different light, such as missing a flight. Maybe I wasn't supposed to be on that flight, and who knows who I might meet sitting waiting for the next flight. And when it's all said and done, you're going to get home. It's just a matter of waiting the time that you need to wait. But the inner peace is probably one of the biggest things that I have now, because I have tools to meet any obstacles that are thrown at me, which we're going to have, as David said. I mean, our life is not going to be perfect ever. It's life, and there's going to be bumps in the road or obstacles thrown at you, but it's how you look at that. And the inner peace and the finding the joy, which I do on a daily basis now. And the more you do that, like Matt said, the more things you find to appreciate and be joyful about. And so I am looking at this situation. Yes, it's stressful, and I know people are scared, but I'm looking at it as it's an opportunity to just be home and spend time with my family and be quiet. And I take 4 or 5 walks now outside in nature, and I get to meditate more, and I get to appreciate this beautiful world. Texas is in springtime, and David knows, because he's been to this area in Austin and the Hill Country, the blue, because they're not always abundant, and they are just all over, which makes these beautiful blue fields. And now the red ones are popping up, and the yellow ones. And it's just this beautiful array of color that Hill Country typically doesn't get, because it's so dry here usually. And everything starts to turn brown, and it's very rocky. So I just took a long drive yesterday on the winding roads, and just looking at this beautiful country we live in, and the beautiful world we live in, and the blue skies. And so all of that I learned through this practice of just, instead of saying, oh, I have to go to the store, I get to go to the store. I'm healthy, and I can go outside, and I can take a walk, and I can appreciate. And it has just given me such an inner peace and an inner joy that I can't even explain. I wake up in the morning and I'm excited. I jump out of bed and I'm excited to see what new thing is going to happen today. And it may just be simply finding a new flower that I've never seen before, or a new bird, or listening to the birds sing. We don't usually get time in this world of a fast-paced moving, get in your car, go to work, do your job, get home, throw dinner, constant movement. So that's my recommendation, is get out in nature and appreciate and enjoy the quiet. We don't often get that opportunity.
We don't get this kind of mandatory pause from the craziness of everyday life, especially in the United States, where we're supposed to work, and hustle all the time, and work on your vacations and all that stuff. I went hiking yesterday, and the trail that we went to is normally not that busy, and it was packed, and there were busloads of church groups going up this trail. So a little different, in California, where we have this mandatory stay away from each other, and you've got a busload of teenagers hiking together, up there. I thought that was kind of interesting. But, I went with my friend, we kept our little distance from each other. We didn't hug each other and stuff when we saw each other. And we just did our hike. We took our dogs. We had a great conversation all the way up and all the way back. I got some exercise that I need because I'm eating carbs right now and I need to stop. And so, my friend Christina said that she's got a 7-year-old daughter, and she said that she hasn't spent this much time with her daughter since her daughter was an infant. So, it's about finding things to appreciate in this time when it may be, depending on what's going on in your personal life, it may be hard to find things to appreciate, but you've always got to look for the light, because there's always something there. And there are times that things come into our lives, especially things that hit us very personally. If we lose our job, or perhaps somebody close to us, has an illness or has even succumbed to an illness. In that moment, don't just try to rush and find the appreciation of it. That's going to be really hard to do in the initial shock of something like that. But in time, you will find a way to appreciate it, because if you go up your spiral into positive emotion and thankfulness for whatever's going on that is working in your life, then you're going to find a path back to a solution for whatever that problem is. Even if it's you're getting through the grieving process of losing someone, are you making yourself healthy again, going up your spiral into high vibration and showing appreciation for the fact that your body has taken on an illness that you're going to overcome and now be stronger because of. When I had that flu, I didn't go down into why me. I don't do that anymore. I haven't done that in a long time. But I did try to think, how am I going to appreciate this? And the stream just piped right in, because I was up my spiral, and said, this is making you stronger. And little did I know that I was getting strengthened back in February for possibly something that's happening right now. I had no idea, but I remember getting a very clear message that my body was being made stronger at that time. Why was not part of the equation. It was just, this is making your body stronger. This is making you less susceptible to other things. Now I have a belief that I'm not going to say that I'm impervious to getting COVID. That would be stupid to say something like that. But I don't feel like I'm participating in it. I'm not worried about it. I'm taking wise precautions. I work from home anyway. I'm not out. I'm being more mindful of washing my hands. I Purell and use wipes when I can. Yesterday when we went to Home Depot, neither one of us thought to take anything like that. We just jumped in the car and went to Home Depot, stood in line, got through, and everything was off the shelves except we found this bottle of Fantastic. And it says on the bottle now, they made this bottle, it says kills coronavirus. So they've already gotten, the market responds so quickly. You got to love capitalism, right? So when we left the store, I said, hey, we should wash our hands with this Fantastic. And we stood in the parking lot and we sprayed Fantastic on our hands. I don't know how good that is for your skin. And washed our hands with Fantastic, and we got in the car and drove home. And then we washed our hands again when we got home because we got lunch on the way out. So, you just kind of roll with it and make the best of it and make every experience joyful. I could have been bitching and complaining in that line yesterday. We spent about half hour standing in line. It was a beautiful day out. I'm out here soaking up rays and getting sun. And we're standing in line at Home Depot. There's all these beautiful plants and flowers to look at. And other people would walk up and go, oh, and get back in their car and leave. Where are you going? Why not just stand in line, enjoy the line, go in and shop, get what you need, go home and work on your project? Because every place that's open is probably going to be like that. So I just think it's a very interesting way to live life. Renee, you're out here in the desert with me. So, and I know you're a hiker and you get out and you're doing a lot of stuff outdoors. So kind of tell us about how you're using your tools right now.
That's interesting that you say you appreciate more. Like you, I've been hiking quite a bit, and there's more people on the hiking trails that I've ever seen in my entire life. You would think it's
Disneyland.
I thought
it was the opposite. It was packed. Yeah.
I was amazed. But the great thing is I go with a couple friends and we keep our 6 feet distance. We don't hug each other or anything, like you said. And I was teasing him. I said, boy, once this coronavirus is over, I said, I'm going to be hugging everybody. I said, because I'm a single person. I don't have a significant other to come home and hug. I said, boy, I said, watch out. When this is over, I'm going to be hugging everybody. Stay away. But it's true. It just like as a simple hug you take for granted, just in this day and age, it's just amazing. And yesterday when we were hiking on one of the trails, we saw so many baby, I don't know if they're geckos or lizards or what have you. And I would see them on the trail, but I wouldn't really look at them in detail. And it was amazing. Some tails were aqua blue, some were purple. And I was like, wow, I didn't realize they had different colored tails. And then my friend was saying that, they camouflage with what they're on. And I was like, oh, wow. I'm like appreciating just nature and just being out there. And that has been a big help. And then like with the whole prior to this, but prior to using the Tya tools, before I even did the boot camp, something like this would take me down my spiral for weeks. And last week I was down my spiral because I lost a lot of work. So I panicked for like 2 days. I'm like, nope, Renee, start using those Tya tools. And I did, and I got out of it faster. And the big thing I learned is trust. Just trust that everything's going to work out. Just do what you can. And I learned to be more proactive. It's like, okay, I lost these jobs. What do I need to do? Rather than just staying home and moping. And, I'm like, hey, I'm in this along with probably 80% of the population. So, you just got to let it go and trust and know that everything's going to work out. And I had, and the great thing is we're on Zoom now. I've done a lot of happy hour Zooms with my friends. We can't see them, but we do happy hour, and it's been a blessing. You still see their faces, and you still do get to chat with them, and everybody's seems to be pretty much up their spiral now. At first it's been tough, but now it's a new norm, that you just got to adjust and know that it's gonna come to fruition. So it's been a big learning curve, that's for sure. And I was telling my friends, if I get through this, I'm going to get through anything, and I'm going to persevere. And interesting, I did a reading with the stream, and they said exactly what I was thinking. So that was a big aha moment for me, knowing that I'm going to come out stronger than ever just by using these tools. So it's been great. It's been a learning experience, and the meditation is key for me. It really helps my day. I notice when I don't do the meditations, and I love the guided meditations because they really help me just to stay focused and not think about everything else that's going around, and just try to stay in the moment. So it's been
I think
great.
When you can quiet your mind, it's fantastic. But if you're having trouble quieting your mind and not having the thought train take off, I do think the guided meditations have a good place, and there's lots out there. The ones that we did are the channeled stream message with the music backing. And I love the music backing.
I do too.
Krista music is all acoustic, and it takes you on this little magical journey in and of itself. And I think I was thinking I met Krista through Debbie. I met him through Stacy. But his music, look him up, and I'll post a link to him in here somewhere. But he does a lot of healing music and things like that. And all of our guided meditations that we do for the stream are all backed by his music. And I just love having his music in there. So thank you, Renee. And then
You're welcome.
Debbie is having an interesting time. And, she's you're on Facebook almost constantly right now, aren't you?
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about your Tya tools and how you're just a ray of sunshine all the time, no matter what's going on in your life. And I've known you for a while now, and you've gone through this roller coaster of committing to doing the work that you do. And that's moved you around to a lot of different places. It's done a lot of stuff, and man, you just roll with it and roll with it and roll with it. And you had tools coming into Tya, and then it seems like Tya sort of turbocharged all that. So look how she's glowing right now. There's probably not even a light on your face. You're just lighting yourself up.
Oh my God. You guys, roll with it. I think that's the key. First, I want to appreciate all of you. I have just been lifted up with all these great reminders of our tools and from each of you. Thank you for sharing your experiences and how that you're maneuvering this stuff. So I also went to the grocery store yesterday. My grocery store experience was quite interesting. The line to get into the checkout went almost to the meat counter. I was sharing this last night. What do? You stay 6 feet apart. You're not having any real conversation. I'm just, sharing on Facebook and, talking to my son, rolling with it, just rolling with it. So, does it always look like that? No, because I get up to the check stand and I'm trying to do one thing. And anyway, long story short, what I needed to do wasn't working and I was highly frustrated. The manager is just like so overloaded. She just doesn't even give a shit at this point. And she's just like, I could see it in her face. And I said, so what's my response to her was, well, what's the solution here? And she looks at me like I'm crazy. Like, solution? You want a solution? And I'm thinking to myself, uh-oh, I think I just said something. And all of a sudden the Tya tools will kick in instantaneously. How important is this? Is this necessary? Breathe. That's number one. Sorry, I forgot the first part. Number one biohack in your life is to pause, breathe, take a step back. But really, it's the quickness of how that this is looking is this person is, I wouldn't want to be in her shoes, number one. So I decide to step away. I just finish it up and it was over a gift certificate that my son had sent me, by the way. I just got to tell you, it was just it was not even anything important enough to stress this poor lady out. But it also wasn't important enough to stress me out because in the same process, I had everything I needed in that moment to handle what was in front of me. Does that make so? I was able to detune something happening instantaneously. I know what a spiral looks like, and if I feel myself, if I'm not if I'm not smiling at her, going, "I love her," she's like, "I'm like so grateful that you're working right now." Then I'm sucking, and I need to go. I'm going down my spiral. So I have to do a self-check. I'm the only one that can do that. Shares nothing that this sweet lady who's working in a grocery store, God bless their souls. They're like they're like the frontline first responders now. But there is nothing I don't want to add to whatever she's going through. And it really forced me to get into a gratitude moment. And even a gratitude moment when I had to go back through the line again because I wanted to just double check that if they had lamb chops. Sorry, all you vegans out there. But I needed those and they didn't have them when I first went into the store. And Ollie got this thing. I'm wondering if they might have possibly put them back out. So I remember now I kept up my spiral. This was something that I needed. It wasn't there and I didn't trip on the fact it wasn't there. But all of a sudden felt like I needed to go back and check. So I go back and check and guess what? The meat guy just walks out. He's walking out. He's rolling the cart with. I said, "You don't have lamb chops, do you?" And he goes, "They're right here." And I'm like, "Oh, good, thank you." Again, I'm sorry, vegans and vegetarians.
They were plant-based lamb chops, right?
Yeah, that's a ticket. Yeah. So, but
Hey, lambs are vegetarian too. Lambs are vegan.
Got a point. So the point, but I love that. I realized that this may sound like a small thing, but it's a big thing when you realize how the universe is working for you, how that even in a worldwide pandemic, that it's working for you. And here's the beauty of things. Now, I also love the fact that I think it was Wendy said, I'm not being, I'm not ignoring this, okay? Every one of you have said actually something to the effect of, I'm not ignoring this. So education and knowledge is power. But where are you educating and where are you getting your knowledge from? Go to really good resources right now, not some crazy whatever on the internet.
How are you reacting to it? It's like, yeah. To me, a spiritual journey or awakening journey, you hear people sometimes say, well, I can't watch the news. I can't watch the news. I can't watch the news. I went through that period in my life a while ago where I just had to turn it off because it took me down my spiral. But now I've kind of come full circle where I view it from a higher perspective. I can absorb the information without having it take me down in vibration. And I don't stay glued to it all day because there's no point in that. I mean, it's kind of designed to keep you glued to it so the advertisers get in front of you because that's how they make money, and that's okay. So it's how you're responding. Okay, the smart thing to do is to wash my hand, make sure I'm washing my hands. I'm pretty good about that anyway. Make sure that if I'm touching something out in public, that I'm using Purell and washing my hands when I get home, not getting near other people. Stop all this hugging and kissing. Renee lives here in Palm Springs. It's a resort town. Hugging, kissing on the lips and all this stuff, hey baby, hey, good to see you. And no. So, we just stop all that stuff. It's wise precautions, taking in the information and taking wise steps without looking at it and think, oh my God, we're all going to die and the economy's going to collapse. It's going to be terrible. It's awful. It's the worst thing that's ever going to happen. It's so easy to think that right now. I've never seen anything like this.
No, me either.
It's exciting. What's next? What's next? What's next?
Right. Don't you want to get the popcorn out and kind of watch it a little bit? Now, listen, that doesn't, now, what do you do?
More carbs, Debbie. Thank you.
I'm sorry, but okay, make it with coconut oil. Cause like, seriously, it's really good. Organic popcorn, make it with coconut oil and don't put the butter on it. I'm sorry. Okay, put a little bit of butter on it.
That's salt. I can have salt. I don't need butter. Actually, I don't care about butter on popcorn.
Well, no, just use the pink salt,
It's
So
fantastic with lamb chops.
Dipped in gravy, right? Dipped in au jus.
Oh my God. So listen,
we're gonna have some vegans really upset on here.
Hey, you know what, David? You guys, I actually, his story about the Fantastic. Well, outside of the grocery store here, I love it. They're spraying the entire cart down and sanitizing the entire thing. I had them spray my hands because they were out of the wipies when you walk in. I had them spray my hands with this stuff, so we both were chemically sanitized.
I'll tell you a little bit about my attitude toward getting germs on you. I think that a certain amount in normal times is good to keep your immunity up. Yeah. And Carrie, you're a healthcare professional. You can correct me anywhere you want to jump in and say, no, that's stupid. But I wash my hands before I eat, but sometimes I forget. You go to a restaurant, you forget. You just expose. I think a little bit of exposure is good. A little bit of illness is good. But right now, I don't want to expose myself to this because it's so contagious and it can really knock you down. And, so I'm taking more precautions than normal. But I don't want to turn into a germaphobe on an ongoing basis once this is done, because I think exposing yourself a little bit seems like it's the way to go. I want to take a quick break to just say hi to the people that are watching. Robert is on. Julie, she posted earlier when we started that her husband is starting to get it. That's the shift. That's great. The Plow Zone radio show. Hello from Fort Bragg. Nicole Souter, a Tya Bootcamp member, and Brian, and those others of you that are on can say hello. If you have questions for any of us, it's fine. I'm not channeling right now. If you're used to watching me channel with Debbie or Matt or both, we have a summit next Saturday. Write this down because you want to watch this. Next Saturday, April 4th at 10 a.m. Pacific from 10 to noon. We're going to be on for 2 hours, and we're going to have a panel of 10 people, including myself. Matt and Debbie will be on with me. I think Wendy, Renee, and Carrie are all on the panel, aren't you? So we will all be on. I'll be channeling for 2 hours. They're going to talk to the stream. The other people that are on are going to talk to the stream. You'll all be able to ask questions to the stream. Debbie's going to moderate. Matt's going to host. And we're going to grill the stream for 2 solid hours about why in the hell they brought this coronavirus on us. I'm just kidding. No, really, anything you want to ask the stream. And the stream has been very insightful in all of this. A few weeks back, they sort of came on and talked about what all this is about, where it actually came from, why we're experiencing this, how it's going to get worse, and then it's going to get better. Not really predictions so much. They're not really into doing that. What they shared was, this is all vibrational stuff, and it's all up to humanity where you go with this. It can be horrific or it can be a new awakening. And it really is a product of our raising our collective vibration, and the tension that is created from that has created this situation. But, we see bad things coming from it, and we see good things coming from it. Where are we going to go with it? Where are we going to take it collectively as humanity? And more importantly, really, where are you going to take it in your life? Because that's what you have control over, is your bubble of reality. And we do have complete control over it. And these Tya tools that we keep talking about, Tya stands for Trusting Your Abundance, TYA. And it's about releasing fear from your life, viewing things from a higher perspective, thus raising your default vibration and living your life from a higher point of view. And what you're hearing right now is you're hearing from a group of people that have graduated from the bootcamp program. We talk about Tya tools all the time, far and wide. My Facebook group is Law of Attraction 2.0. If you're not in there, go join over there. We talk about Tya all the time in there. That's all we talk about over there. We don't have postings of other things in there. We just focus on the practice of Tya. It's a spiritual practice. It's not religious. There's no rules. There's no judgment. And we're using this mindset practice in our lives to improve and enhance our lives, and really finding a place of a path to joy. And some of the things I've loved hearing so far today on this broadcast is hearing from Renee, who has chosen to be self-employed. And when you're self-employed, you're sort of on this little roller coaster of really trusting yourself, first of all, in the universe to take care of you financially. And she's had some things that have gone away in this pandemic, and yet she's got some new opportunities that are coming up. And the beauty of all this is understanding that she could have met all that in fear and gone down her spiral and stayed there and had a horrible experience that could only get worse, or use your tools, go up your spiral where all of the solutions are. And she started telling me about the solutions. And when she was telling me about those, I'm like, that makes perfect sense. You should be doing that right now. Why not? And so she's able to meet this in joy and go out and hike and appreciate the foliage and the view and the beautiful blue sky, instead of sitting in her house terrified of a pandemic. Oh my God, I'm going to get sick. I'm going to be broke. I'm going to be living under a rock, all that stuff. Matt, do you have something to add to that?
Yeah, David, just to say that I think that's an excellent example of how a storm makes you stronger, and how, it's something you wouldn't wish for actually has helped you evolve and grow. And Renee, I was struck about how you were saying, yeah, I'm much more, proactive now, and I go out and get stuff and I'm making things happen. And potentially you wouldn't have done that if nothing had changed, so you've actually grown and evolved in the process, and done so joyously.
Definitely. And it's inspiring to hear that. And then Wendy, I think you might be frozen down there. I think Wendy's got a bad connection. She had a great connection while she was speaking, and then she's kind of blipped out a couple. I think she's definitely frozen because she's not moving at all. So Wendy shared that fear used to be a constant in her life, and she was very afraid of things like this. And now she's gone through Tya, and I think I'm seeing the perfection in your life that you found, that you did Tya boot camp before this happened. And now, when we met with her the other day in the mentor meeting that we had for Tya boot camp, she's like, hey, I'm working from home. Everything's great. I've never worked from home before. She's a librarian, and this is an opportunity for her to do something different. And I'm inspired by these stories. This is why I do what I do, because I want to teach this to other people, because it changed my life dramatically. And I have to tell you all, I taught myself this spiritual practice. I co-created it really with the Stream's teachings. And it took me 10 years to fully come around, but it doesn't end. It keeps getting better and better and better and better. And I have shown that. I use my own personal life example all the time. And some people tune in and they think I'm bragging about my life. I'm not. I'm telling you that how in my life, the storms do come, but they're really not storms. They're little showers that come through now. And these little showers come through, and I'm able to go up my spiral, meet them in joy, and realize that I created the shower myself for my down the spiral time. And then I'm going to solve it. I trust that I'm going to solve it. And now it's taken me 2 years of no income to stop, no guaranteed income, to stop questioning and just let go and trust that even when things look like they're not working out, something turns every single time, and it does every single time. My life, that is the story of my life now. And, the story of my life during that 10-year period was in my book, The Stream. It's been out for 2 years now. And I'll tell you that Tya, I'll always plug the book. Here's the book, The Stream. It's 40% off now on Amazon if you want something to read right now. The Stream book, I wrote that over 2 years ago, and it's been published now for a year and a half. And, that was the story of how I came to channel and really laid the groundwork for the Tya practice. But Tya is just mentioned in there in one chapter. Since I wrote that book, I started boot camp. I started teaching this. Tya became a thing. It became a spiritual practice based on all the people that have gone through boot camp and co-created it with me. And I'm ahead of everybody else just because I've been doing it longer. But my life isn't perfect. But God, it's so much fun. It's so joyful. It's every day just being able to find something to be joyful about. And I'm so much happier now in this joyful state, regardless of what comes my way, than I was 10 years ago when I was traveling first class all over the world, living in a beautiful house, just had all the money that I could imagine wanting to have and having everything just that I wanted the way I wanted it to be financially. And I was miserable. We were talking about travel, and I remember going to Europe, and I was so stressed out going to Europe because we didn't get first class on one flight, and we had to sit in the upper class, but not the highest upper class. And, the hotel was this and not that. These stupid little things that were really should have been things that I was thrilled to do, that I kept myself in that miserable space because I didn't have the right perspective. You get spoiled and you get bored, and you start finding things to pick apart and complain about, and you bring your vibration down and you hold yourself away from joy. Most of us live in really good circumstances. We do. We have a roof over our heads. We have food to eat. We have internet connection. We communicate with other people. We have people that we care about in our lives. And instead we focus on what we don't have or what might be. And we hold ourselves away from joy because of what might be, what might happen next. What if? Let's go down our spiral. Let's board the thought train. Let's start beating ourselves up. And we spend our lives like that. And I just don't ever want to spend a moment of my life like that ever, ever, ever again. So that's why I created this. And I want this for everybody that's ready for it. So I want to take a moment also. Brian's in, if you're still on. I like when we were talking earlier, Debbie's story about the supermarket. I've got some friends that work, in situations like that right now. I've got a friend that's a cashier at an Albertsons. And, he's talking about just how nasty people can be right now. How awful people are to the people that are working on the front lines, that are putting themselves in the path of being around a lot of strangers all day long to ring up your groceries. And I hope nobody watching this is doing this, but we see it out there, wanting to pummel the grocery store clerk for not having toilet paper because some fearful person came in and felt the need to load up on toilet paper early on because that was the most important thing right now, to make sure they could wipe their ass. It's so stupid, So, let's do that. Let's give some positive vibes to the people that are out in the hospitals and retail stores, the people that are delivering our food, the people that are cooking our food if we're still having takeout, all of those people that are out putting themselves in harm's way potentially to make a living in this, and be nice to them. I've gotten to that stage a long time ago. I worked in retail for years, and before that I worked in restaurants. So, you see the best and worst of humanity in those situations. And people go into a restaurant or a retail store and they believe they have license to just treat people like crap sometimes. And I've been around people like that. It just makes me really uncomfortable. Like, why are you treating somebody like this? There's just nothing going on in this store or this restaurant that is worth you being this way to another human being. I've always felt like that. But now more so than ever, when I get a rude waiter, I could care less. Bring me my food. If you're having a bad day, I'll leave you a better tip because I'm not going to be part of your bad day. Even if you're nasty to me, I don't care. I don't need people to be nice to me just because I'm spending money in their store. I never understood that. People that are like, oh, you're not showering me with love and affection and attention. Bring me my food. We're good. You don't have to have a big smile on your face. You may be having a crappy day. It's fine. It's not about me. It's about you. Just bring me my food, ring up my stuff. You're probably having a hard day. I'm not going to go complain to the manager because I didn't get a smile from you. I've never understood that way of thinking. Let's just all be nicer to each other, and especially to the people that are helping us right now get through a very difficult time. People have to make a living. And if their employer is telling them you got to come to work, or they're choosing to, let's give them some power for sure, and some appreciation. And remember that it's not their fault that they're out of toilet paper or eggs. And they're dealing with a lot of nastiness right now for no reason. And it's just too bad that people behave that way. But it's part of the contrast of being human, right?
Geez, can I say something?
Sure.
Yeah, let's just continue to be the example. We all rock like that. I mean, really.
Yeah, when somebody is nasty to you, be nice back to them, because the nastiness is very rarely about you whatsoever.
It's not personal.
Yeah, it's not personal.
Right. I want to share what Alicia Starr has messaged me, because she didn't have headphones, so she couldn't participate today. Alicia Starr is another one of our boot campers, and we love Alicia. She says, then when this is over, is a funny comment. This is the new normal. It will only be over is a perspective. It is over as soon as one decides it is. So she's talking about just perspective. I know I saw Robert Dosa saying, perspective. That's an interesting perspective. But
Yeah,
again,
if we can be,
Yeah.
no pun intended, infectious with our positivity and our way of thinking of not being fearful of this, understanding that we're all participating in it. I like to say we're not participating. We're not directly bringing the negative into our bubble of reality is what I would say when I'm not saying not participating. It's impacting all of us.
Yeah.
Matt is heavily impacted by it where he is. I know he's got things going on personally that wouldn't be going on right now if it weren't for this. But he's using his tools. He's staying up and he's finding the light in all of this, and we all are, and that's our work here as human beings is to go down our spiral a bit, manifest a problem, go up our spiral, solve that problem, and grow and expand in the solving of the problem. Boom, there's a reason for life right there. That's why we're all here. So once you get that, then you understand the problems aren't such a big deal. I was talking to Michael this morning over coffee, and we talk about how we want our business or our work life to reach some state of perfection, but it never does. I worked in corporate for 20 years, and it didn't matter when times were good. I remember I worked in high-end retail during the dot-com boom. And our problem at the time is that we sold high-end furniture. We couldn't hire enough people to meet the demand of the customers. And then that went bust after 9/11. Then after 9/11, we had the real estate boom in Florida. I worked in Florida in interior design at that time. And again, people coming in, they said, we want to redo our bedroom. How much? We'll say, we need a $40,000 budget. Fine, no problem. That's how business was at that time. You want to redo your bedroom, you need to have $40,000 before we're going to fool with you. That's how it was. That's how business was at that time. What was the problem again there? We couldn't hire enough people. I had to have these big hiring seminars and stuff. We didn't have enough people on the floor to meet the demand of all the money that was walking through the door. So when you work in high-end retail, you start to get a very different version of humanity. You start to see how much financial abundance is really out there. My friend was talking the other day about, selling online. It was a pair of Minnie Mouse ears for $900. Somebody just bought those last week, a $900 pair of Minnie Mouse ears for their child's birthday. There are people with money out there, and they spend money, and those people are financially abundant. They're the 1%ers. They are rich no matter what. When the economy goes bust, boom, everything's on sale. Let's buy up stock. Let's go buy real estate. We've got money. So is that your vibration, or is your vibration, oh, I'm always broke, I'm always poor, this is being thrust upon me, you don't understand, I can't have it, it won't work, people like me don't get that? What's your financial song that you sing? What's your health song that you sing? Are you singing a song about, always being healthy, always being okay, even if you get a little something, you're going to overcome it, it's just going to make your body stronger? Or are you living in terror of getting this virus? How are you responding to what's going on all around you right now? That's the big question, and it's your choice how you respond to it. Alicia says she can clarify the comment. Alicia, I sent you a link. If you can get on, I sent you a link in Messenger. You can jump on here with us if you want to. And I don't think it matters if you have headphones or not. I'm not using headphones. I'm just using a microphone, but you can probably jump on.
Well, she couldn't hear. That's why. And
Okay.
Yeah, and I've noticed that happens sometimes, and then they have to have headphones. But I must have I blundered that. I get an A for effort, E for effort.
Yeah. Well, what she's talking about is her bubble of reality, but then our collective bubbles of reality will be the solving of this if we so choose, right? So the collective consciousness, the fear of the disease causes the spread of the disease more than the biological spread of the disease. People are looking for, why did this happen? And people seem to want to trace it back to this person eating a live bat or something like that. I don't think anybody really knows how this happened. I think this was going to happen, whether it happened from that source or somewhere else, that this virus was born. It was a further mutation of something that was already out there. The coronavirus is not new. There are different strands of coronavirus, right? I'm no expert on this stuff. I'm not pretending to be, but it's not new. And flu isn't new. This is a more serious strain, and it seems to be more contagious than normal. Is that because it just is, or is it because the collective fear is making it that? Think about it. So we know that a financial crisis is caused by people becoming fearful of a financial crisis, and they stop spending money and they sell their stocks. The stock market plummets, people's wealth drops, then they stop spending money. Boom, you've got a recession on your hands. The only thing that created the recession was the fear. The sell-off, the stopping of the spending of the dollars creates the recession. So you can decide whether you participate in it personally or not. I have lived through the Great Recession, again, not participating in it financially at all. I was impacted by it, but I wasn't impacted by it financially. I chose not to be. So the collective is we can all do our part as the collective consciousness to share messages such as this, to put this information out there and hopefully inspire other people toward using these tools. Whether you ever take Tya Bootcamp or not, Tya Bootcamp is not for everybody. Bootcamp is for people that are ready to come in and do that kind of work. So I don't want to give the impression that this is just about bootcamp. These Tya tools, it pours out of me all the time. I have a live radio show. In fact, you can listen to me live tomorrow at 2 p.m. Pacific. I'm live every Monday, 2 p.m. Pacific, over on Om Times Radio, and you can. It's also my podcast. I think Elisha. It's Elisha. We're going to clear this up once and for all. I think it's Elisha. Oh, I've got to take somebody off screen before I put her on screen. Who wants to sacrifice themselves?
I'm actually, I got
Matt wants to go to bed. All right, Matt, I'm going to let you go to bed.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
It's 4 p.m. there, and I have to figure out how to take you out of here.
Yeah.
Maybe take yourself out.
Why don't
Bye,
I go?
Matt.
Bye, guys. Lots of love.
All right. Thank you, Matt. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you, Matt.
Pleasure. Bye, guys.
Bye.
All right.
I'm going to head out
David?
too.
Okay. We're at 11:05. I'm supposed to be off already. So we'll let Alicia, Debbie, if you've got to run, go ahead. We'll let Alicia come on real quick, and then we'll wrap up after that. Thank you, Debbie. Alicia.
Thank you guys.
Alicia, or Elisha?
It's Elisha.
Elisha.
I'm named after the prophet in the Bible, after Elijah. So it's a male Hebrew name that throws people really off. I'm named from a prophet in a comic book character. My name is Elisha Star.
So it's a long I.
So you can call me Star if that's easier than Elisha.
Cool. All right. We're wrapping up because we're already over
you guys
time.
hear me
I apologize
okay?
we couldn't get you on sooner, but go ahead and share what you wanted to share.
Hello?
Can you hear us?
Oh, no.
Uh-oh, she's cutting
Can
out
you hear
now.
me? Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. I'm
Yes.
on my phone. I wasn't able to get on my computer, so I'm holding my cell phone, so hopefully that'll work. So I can clarify real quick because I know we're over time. The perspective came to me because I was meditating, and when I was younger, my grandmother had me work at a home where kids were born with AIDS. And at the time, I had no idea what AIDS was. I was like 10, 11. I just knew that people were dying from this virus. It was super scary. I didn't know what homosexuality was. And she had me volunteer. And what I learned was that it's a perspective. Like, if you're not afraid of dying, if you're helping, if you have hygiene and you use bleach and you clean, you can touch people who have whatever disease, whatever virus, without fear. And it reminds me of Mother Teresa, and it reminds me of just the stream in the perspective of that the fear, the stress will attract to you what you're afraid of. And this virus is just an evolution of SARS. It's an evolution of Ebola, dengue fever. I think you might be cutting off because everything is going in circles on my phone. So the new norm is that this will be the new norm. So we're going to have to be prepared and realize that there's germs out there that are dangerous, and we need to protect ourselves. We need to protect our loved ones, but we don't need to be afraid. I'm a therapist. My clients are still coming to me. I'm still touching people. But I take a shower before I work on them. They take a shower before I work on them. They take a shower, I leave, everything gets cleaned. And I think about it, and these are things that maybe should have been done from the very beginning. It's just a ritual way of how we touch our temple and our vessel, and we treat our world as everything sacred. So yeah, this is a perspective, and I think it's a new norm, and it's a wake-up call. And I think collectively the story has been being written in Hollywood for a really, really long time. In 2005, there were movies about a pandemic and what would happen. So we have co-created it as a collective from fear and from sensationalization. And I think it's just a wake-up call to switch really what we desire and where we're going as spiritual, divine humans. That's my clarification. And I hope you guys heard me.
Yeah, no, it all came through on my end perfectly, and hopefully the broadcast it did well. So you can hit like if that came through for all of you.
Did I lose you guys?
We're here. I think you lost us, but we didn't lose you. You're still here.
I think I
All right,
lost you
let me go
guys.
ahead and wrap up because we're over our hour now. I do want to thank everybody, Matt and Debbie, who had to jump off. It's Matt's Monday morning, and Debbie has, I'm sure, another video to go jump on. She's on Facebook all the time right now. And Carrie and Renee and Wendy, thank you all so much. And Elisha, thank you for coming and sharing. Don't forget, next Saturday, April 4th, 10 to noon Pacific time, we have a summit with the stream. So I'm going to be on channeling. It's going to be very different than interacting with little old me. I'll be channeling the stream for 2 solid hours, and you can all ask questions of the stream. The audience can type questions and ask and interact and ask follow-up questions and get a lot of clarity. And we also have a premiere of a video that the stream delivered. The stream delivered a message, and that's put to video now that we're going to be sharing out this week as well. That is a very interesting perspective and very uplifting regarding what's going on right now across humanity and how it's ultimately going to serve us. Thank you all so much. Namaste.